Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. Now, we're actually going to talk about one signal that actually suggests that Bitcoin is going to reach a new all-time high soon. Yes, I know that sounds crazy today after our drop, but there is actually a signal that correlates very, very well to Bitcoin, and it's actually risen up much higher and much faster than I had ever expected, and that is, drumroll please, that is the Bitcoin hash rate. You can see even during this dump of today, the hash rate has gone straight up, which means more and more people are mining Bitcoin. As the hash rate gets higher, the cost of mining one Bitcoin gets higher, and the only way to sustain that is if the price of Bitcoin rises. So there is a very good reason that price and hash rate actually correlate together. Like when China banned Bitcoin mining, it fell straight down, and because like now you don't really and now because like Bitcoin mining became significantly easier from May until July, the cost came down to mine Bitcoin, so you can sustain Bitcoin mining at a much lower price. But now, if you actually look at this, the Bitcoin mining rate is almost at an all-time high. In fact, the all-time high is like 180.666, and now it's at 180.505. That means that if we keep going up just a little bit, we should actually get to a new hash rate all-time high tomorrow or even this weekend. And when we get to a new hash rate all-time high, generally what happens is that we actually get to a price all-time high sooner or later around that time. Now, it may take another month or so, but the thing is, according to this price indicator, which actually has been very, very close to Bitcoin's actual price, because hash rate and the price needed for Bitcoin to sustain itself correlate very, very heavily with each other. And as hash rate goes up, the minimum price of Bitcoin needs to actually go up. This could actually be an indicator to actually turn things around. So while everything else is very, very bullish, including the daily and weekly and indicators right now, because we are actually below the 200 EMA, and the fundamentals, although they look good, they don't look spectacular right now, with some regulation coming down sooner or later, but we're really not sure what. The total hash rate, which actually drives Bitcoin's tokenomics, is actually looking very promising right now. I honestly did not expect this much of a rise so fast. I thought it would take another month to a month and a half to arrive at where we are right now. But since December 1st, the beginning of the month, we've actually shot straight up in hash rate from 153 million to about 180 million. So that's a plus 27%. Plus 27 million hash rate. And that is almost plus 20% in terms of total hash rate since the beginning of this month. Have a couple of days, we'll actually be in another couple of days, we'll actually probably be past the all-time high in terms of hash rate. And if we keep going up, Bitcoin eventually will have no choice but to follow up in price. Otherwise, the miners won't be able to keep this up. And I think the miners would actually manipulate the price a little bit, because they can, to actually keep them profitable, because they can't be in improfitability for too long. The miners will actually have to sell more Bitcoin right now to actually keep mining. So we could actually be in a temporary price dip. But eventually, because of the price hash rate correlation, eventually Bitcoin does definitely have to go up. And it has to go up fairly soon. If you actually look at like 3 years, you can see that, back in 2019, when we were at the bottom, we were actually much, much lower in hash rate. And then as we go up, back in 2020, and like March 2020, when we had that, we had the Black Swan event, it dipped like in half, and then eventually it dipped in half. So like if you actually look at the long-term hash rate graph, this was the biggest dip by far in the graph, and that's because China kicked all the miners out, and obviously we dipped in price too. And now the recovery is there, but we didn't like top right here in the recovery. We just went down slightly, and now we're going at an all-time high. So I do actually think this kind of like low will actually end within the next month and a half, and we'll actually be at an all-time high after that. Maybe soon in the new year we'll be at an all-time high, because the hash rate graph is going to just push the bottom rate of Bitcoin up higher and higher. And you can see that from like the 3-year graph as well. Like, the thing is, we actually had a rise in 2019, and then we topped at 13,000, but of course we dropped afterwards. The hash rate didn't really drop during that lull. And that was really because, and I think we would have like went up much sooner in 2020 had it not been for COVID. Like, 2019 COVID, people were getting very unsure. Had it not been for COVID, I think we would have went up a lot faster. And then of course, we kept on going up into 2020 and 2021 with slight dips in the hash rate because of the China FUD. But now, since we don't have the China FUD anymore, and China's already kicked out all the miners, and we're going straight up in hash rate, I do think it's inevitable that within a few months, the price will actually follow. So that's actually what I have to say. That's a bit of good news in all this dreariness. I wouldn't jump in to make moves just yet because sometimes there is a decent delay in terms of hash rate versus price. But right now, like I do think the hash rate will eventually force up the price, especially if it goes up as fast as it is going right now. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think, like and subscribe, and hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.